Hello guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Ben, and today we're going to do this amazing app for ride sharing. This has different and several implementations that you can choose. You can use it maybe you can use a framework like Ionic to build an app without changing anything, literally. And for React, it has a different implementation, and we'll be looking at that one maybe in our future video, where we'll be implementing the same on React, which is going to be very simple. And I'm going to engage a professional now UI developer to assist us with doing front end, and then we'll focus on back end so you can come up with something amazing. So in this video, I'm going to show you what we're going to build today. So we're going to build this app called Nerdify, and it's just ride sharing. What we're going to do today is just show the implementation of Google Maps and how to do the all stuff, and also some few explanations here and there. And this code is divided into maybe 4 parts, so I'll be taking breaks in between, so you can also maybe take some time to cool off and maybe digest or understand some of the concepts, as well as do them on your own. So feel free to pause this video at any point and do exactly what I'm doing. It's always good to follow by doing, right? Yeah, so let's show you what we're going to build today. So last time I showed a place where I was in Nakuru, and this time let me show in another county. So let me say I'm in Kisumu. Let me say I'm in Maseno University, right? And I'll be going to Eldoret University as well. So Eldoret University of Eldoret, sorry about that. So it will show me the location. So it's from point A to point B. I'm in Maseno, I'm going to Eldoret. So the button here shows proceed, so I'll click proceed, and then it will open this, and I'll be able to see again the distance, which is going to be 95 kilometers, and I'm going to take 2 hours 33 minutes approximately, and I'm going to pay 95 shillings. So we'll be able to see the factor here that you've calculated the distance multiplied by time, so by amount. So I've put just 1 shilling, so that if I'm choosing a shorter distance, I can be able to say pay when I'm doing my tests here. As well, I've implemented M-Pesa STK, so I'm going to make a payment, but I'm not going to make the payment per se. So I get a push STK on my phone, and then I'll just cancel it. And as you can see, payment has been cancelled by the user. Another kind of implementation we're going to do is going to have this, and then we're not going to do anything, just let it time out. So just put 25 seconds, so about 20 or less seconds, it will just show our timeout. Then in the middle, it will show us a notification whether we are already paid. So I'll say, we're still waiting for your payment. Did you allow it? Then after a few seconds, we'll get a timeout. So we've stopped polling. As you can see, even the spinner here has stopped. And basically, if I had put maybe a smaller amount, I would have allowed the payment, and you would see the payment going through. Actually, let's just do that. So let's do a distance like so let's do Mache Plaza. Where are we going? We're going to maybe KCB Nakuru, which will be small distance, yeah, something like that. So proceed, and it's going to be approximately 1 kilometer. It will take approximately 1 minute, and I'm going to enter my number. Then I'll click pay. Spinner spins up, get a notification on my phone, make a payment, and we get yay, payment successful. And you'll be redirected, or you'll receive a call from a rider in a minute, right? So basically that's what we're going to build together. So let's get started. Now this is part 2, where we're going now to start building our application. What I've done is I've opened 2 things here. I've opened maps JavaScript documentation for Google Maps. I've already gone through this, so I'm not going to do a lot of it, but the notes that I'll release final will have an explanations, and I've made an effort to ensure that I have commented every section and what went into that. The next part is Daraja, which I've used it to process the payment, and this is what actually we're going to use when we're processing our payment. So my project is here, and now I'm going to use this. Let me just zoom in a little. So as you can see, our index page, or the assets, that everything is here. The project directory, we have an API where we're going to put the M-Pesa data. Here we have our assets folder, which has an app.js, which again right now it's empty. We have our index.php, which will be our entry point. This can be also index.html, doesn't matter. Then we have our trip info.php. Again, doesn't have to be PHP because we're not using any PHP code here. So it can also be just HTML, and it will work perfectly well. Yeah, so let's get started. So what I've done is I already have done this part, so I'm going to copy a certain code here and walk you through it. So this is the front end that I'm using. Let me zoom out so we can go through together. I hope it's visible. So this is just normal HTML. What I've done here, I've added Bootstrap. I've also added some fonts, and I want to use the Montserrat font. And we have the title, nothing else there. Here we have a container, body with class container, and we have this div that I've decided to put the position relative because I want it to float on top of the page. Then we have our card body here, which will have a full width. We have our title and our, say, slug or whatever it is. Then we have our input here. So this is where we're going to have our pickup input, and then we have our drop off input box. Then we also have this distance to display how far or where the user is. It's not necessary. Then we're also going to have a button, and this button will only show when we have both pickup and drop off selected. And we have our map, which will render on the background of this page. So as you can see, I've given the map a height of 100 view height, and inside here we have a few styles. First of all is to ensure the font is Montserrat. Then we have the title Nerdify, which is this one here, to have a font weight of 900 and italic. Then we have distance and payment to display none, that is the button. So we have this and the button itself, not to show when we're beginning or when we have not programmatically called it to show. Then we design the card position absolute. Remember, we had our div with style relative, so we want everything to be absolute on to that. So we have top 0, index of 6, so it can be on top of the map, and you have a width of 100. You have a background color of yellow or orange-ish. Then you have the button, which again has the position of absolute inside the same, yeah. So it will be calculated relative to this. So position, same z index, width should be 95 or 90%, and then the border radius to 0, height 50 pixel, and then it should be because it's 100, this is 90 plus 5 on left and 5% on the right, so we have already centered that one. Okay, then down here we have our script. We have jQuery, we have Bootstrap bundle, and then we have our custom script, which we're going to include it inside assets app.js. Then we have our Google API, Google Maps API, which has libraries that I'm using is places and geometry. Then we also have a callback, which is initmap, and we need to have this callback already here. So what I'm going to do is to have my function init map, like that. So every time the map we load the page and the map is loaded, this function will be called automatically. Yeah, it's a callback. More of this in documentation on Maps API JavaScript, and you'll be able to see these things here. And as you can see, we have our callback here is init map. You can just call it any name, so it's not a must, but just convention, they call it init map. So this will initialize the map, and this is where we're going to show the map by or every time the page is loaded. Great. Now let us load this page and see how it's going to look like. So I'm going to open my terminal, and I'm going to just use the PHP server that I think I chose to do in PHP. So we have PHP server localhost 8000. So I'm going to open that in my URL, and now as you can see, we have our UI has loaded. I'm going to minify it just to look like a mobile, because at the end of the day this will be a mobile app. So we have everything here, and we don't have any error here because we don't have our maps yet. Yeah, so the next step that I want to do now is to show the map. And to show the map, I'm going to use a center in Nakuru. Yeah, so first of all, I'm going to have some global variables here. I know we're going to use a map, and we want it global, so when we write custom functions, we'll still be able to access that. And I also want a marker which will be showing us where the points are. Next, I want to declare another variable. I'm calling it default location, and this default location will be placed somewhere in Nakuru. I'm going just to take latitude. I already have these values, so let me just copy them and paste them here. So when we bring in JavaScript, Google Maps JavaScript API like this, what happens is we make it available to the whole window object. So what I can do right now, I want to initialize the map and show the map on the interface. So I'm going just to say map is equals to new Google .maps .map, and I'm going to pass a few things. First of all, I'm going to get the place where I want to show the map. So when you go here, we have the ID, which is map. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to go to my map. I'm going just to pick that document.getElement by ID. The reason why I'm using this is because I don't want this to depend on jQuery, yeah, because jQuery delays. So the few seconds vanilla JavaScript will have loaded it. Once we bring in this one, we also have to pass an object, and the first item I'm going to put here is zoom, and I want to zoom the map by 14 scale. Then I want to put my center as my default location. Perfect. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disable the focus on that. And last thing, I'm going to ensure that we are not when a person clicks, doesn't show like the overlay that Google shows and notifies you, like use both hands to expand the map or something like that. So I want to remove that one. So to remove that, I'm going to say gesture, or to add gesture handling. I'm not sure the spelling, gesture handling, yes, and I'm going to choose greedy. So that will disable the notification or the overlay that Google shows, notifying you to click or to use both hands or fingers to zoom in the map. So now that we have that, I'm going to reload this, and our map will load automatically, as you can see. So the reason why it's loading, because our init function has been called, right? So the moment this runs, our init function here, an init map is called. In case you're wondering where you're going to get your Google Maps, I'll leave a documentation on how you can get your Google Maps from your Google Cloud API dashboard, and you can enable places and geometry for JavaScript. Okay, now that we have our map loading, we take a hydration break, and then when we come back, we now want to add functionality to our maps here. So when we go to pick up and we write something here, we want to get suggestions and auto completions from Google, right? So yeah, time for that break. Okay, now that we have been able to set our map, and we have our pickup and drop off locations already set, now we need to add the autocomplete, such that when we come here and type, say, Nakuru, whatever, Google suggests for us the places that we or are close to what we've just mentioned. So to do that, we'll go back to our code, go to our app.js, and I'm going to now depend on jQuery once it has completely loaded. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to declare two things that will grab the IDs or the elements of pickup and drop off. So I'm just going to say this is going to be pickup, and here I'm going to do document dot get element by ID, and I'm going to choose my pickup ID. So if in case you're wondering where that one is, we had two input fields, which again are this on the UI. So we have input 1 and input 2. This is pickup and this is drop off, and as well I've given them the same IDs. So as you can see, this is pickup and this is drop off, right? So we go here and then we do the same for drop off. So I'm going just to click that and update it. Next, we want to start with our pickup location, right? So here we're going to put our autocomplete. Let us attach now on an autocomplete for this one, and because we're going to use again the object that will be returned, so we're just going to save this in an object. So it's say let, so I'll say pickup autocomplete, so we can just understand it. So let pickup autocomplete, sorry, my spelling here. So pickup autocomplete is going to be, remember we have our Google object, so we have Google Maps dot places. Now we are using the places API. If you don't have places already on your Google Maps, you will not get anything here. So you see you have libraries, places, that one must be there. So you're using the places library, and once we have this, I'm going now to invoke the autocomplete on my pickup location, just like that. So if we save this and go to app and reload it, and we start typing, you'll see that now Google will start recommending stuff as simple as that, right? So let's choose another place. So let's say some good places. let's say Kilimani. So we have Kilimani, Nairobi. Now as you can see, once we have this, we select an allocation. We don't know, or we don't see it on the map here. So the next step would be probably to now set it on the map, and we'll repeat the same for drop off, and we'll set a pin or a marker to show us which location that has been, as well as extract longitude and latitude, and also the place name, because we want to save this now to database, so we know the person went from point A to point B. Point A is a certain place, point B is another place. Yeah. So using the Google Autocomplete API, the Google Maps JavaScript provides another method that we can use, and for simplicity, let me just copy these and update here, so that we don't have to repeat that one. So that is for drop off. So already we have again autocomplete on drop off. Now let's proceed to the next step, and the next step is, now we've said we want now to listen to the input fields and load a pin or add a pin, as well as grab the longitude and latitude for the map, as well as zoom the map to that location, right? So the first step would be to get the place name once it has been selected, right? So we're going to use this, so Google Maps, google.maps, and then we listen to that event, and the event that we want to do, so we say add listener, and we want to attach it now to our pickup autocomplete event object, and what we want to listen to is an event called place changed. In short, place has been updated, right? Then this has a callback here, and now everything is going out to be in this callback. So to get the place name, and in my documentation I have a link that will lead you to this place, so make sure you go to GitHub, clone the repo, and go through it. It's the same for Java and all that. So what you'll do is just understand the concepts and then implement it in your favorite language. So let's get a place. So now that we have pickup autocomplete, it can give us the place name, right? So let's do that. So we'll say I want to save this separately because I'll use it somewhere. So we'll say let place to be pickup autocomplete dot get place, and this is after we have already selected it on our input fields, right? Then we'll get our longitude and latitude. So we'll start with latitude. This is going to be place dot geometry, and geometry is a library which is going to be which is here. We have geometry passed as a library, so we go back here. So we have place, which is this dot geometry, and then dot location. This location returns two functions, latitude and longitude. So we'll just do dot latitude, and then let's copy this and change this now to longitude, which is long. Google writes it's LNG, right? So this is going to be longitude, like that. So we have the exact location where this person is. The next thing I want to do is to display this on the map, as well as zoom in to that location. So remember, we had our map object that we had created up here, which already has a map. So on this map we want to add a pin. So to add a pin, we'll do map dot set center, and to set center we need to pass in an object, and this object is going to be latitude and longitude, like that. So if we save this and now go to our map and reload it, and say we are at Yaya Center, let me just say that, our map will automatically zoom to that place, but we cannot be able to see it because we don't know, we don't have a pin or what we call a marker. Yeah, we had two things, remember? So we had a map and a marker. So this time let's set a marker again to that location. So to set a marker, and first of all we want to ensure that we remove any other marker if there was, but let us now ignore first that one. So I'm going to say my marker is going to be new Google dot maps dot marker, and this is going to be a method that accepts an object, and we're going to pass the position, and our position is going to be an object again with latitude and longitude. Remember, we had them up there. Next we want to choose our map, which is going to be our map object which we created during init, Then we'll give it a title. So this is going to be your pickup. We can even give it the place name, it doesn't matter. So I'm going just to say pickup location, and I can also just say place dot name, right? So just have place dot name like that. Then finally, we don't want this part to be draggable, so let's say draggable is false, and then we can choose to have it or to give it an animation or not to. So in this case, I'm not going to show a drop animation, so let it just be like that. So if we go now back to our map and reload it, actually there are so many things that you can do, and there's documentation for markers, and I'll leave the description in my GitHub on this code, so you'll find the JavaScript is very well explained. So let's again choose Yaya Center, Nairobi. So I'll just click that, and as you can see, we have now our marker, and when we click this marker, we're supposed to see our location showing up here, but fortunately it's not showing. I'm not sure why, but it should show. I tried it on my and it's working perfect. Now that we have that, right, the next thing that we want to do, and I had said, is I want us to ensure that we don't have any other marker on the map. So if we had any other marker, so we'll just come here and say if we have a marker, so let's just say marker dot set map to null. That will clear any other markers if we had, because this is the pickup we expect. When you click pickup, it just goes directly to pickup. No other markers are showing up. That will confuse us, right? So this is now very small code for showing the pickup location, and then we'll again repeat the same for drop off, right? So let's do the same. So I'm going just to fold this. What I'll do, I'm not sure that this is the right thing to do, but let me just copy it and change this to drop off location. Drop off. Drop off, great. And we're going to have, the only thing I'm not going to do is to clear marker this time, and we're not going to set center for the map as well. I'm going to have that. So for the other part, that's when we are now going to zoom in into the map. But now we have let me change the names. So this will be DST for destination, and this will be DST for, and this will be DST place. And I'll also update here for destination so we don't get confused. Awesome. Now that we have those two, I need now to update this to have DST latitude, and here we're going to have DST longitude, and we have drop off location like that. So we listen to this event, get the place name, the latitude and longitude, then we add a marker to that location. So if we go back here and reload this, and they say maybe is Yaya Center, and where we are going from Yaya is, say we're going to which place, let's say we are going to Westlands. So pick anything, so let's choose here. Oh, sorry, I have a problem on our JavaScript, something I didn't do. It's supposed to be drop off. And this is not place, it's DST place. Perfect. Problem with copy pasting, you copy the wrong things. So let's repeat. So you're at Yaya Center, and maybe you want to go to globe roundabout. Not sure. Sorry, put in globe. Like that. So we can't see it yet because we've not zoomed it in, but if we, let me zoom out my map, so you'll see that we have two markers. One is here and the other one is here, right? So you have one for globe and the other one for Yaya Center, right? Great. Now in the next part, I want to take a break from this point. In the next part, we're going to now add the directions from here to this. It will show us the route that our car can use as we're traveling from point A to point B, right? As well as indicate this is point A and this is point B. That one we're going to use what we call a direction service, and it will be in our next. So thank you. I hope if you're new, you're subscribing and you're liking this video so far. And if you have any question, comment section. If you need the source code for this video, go to my GitHub, link in the description, and download and follow along. We'll try and do again for one for Java and one for other languages as well, so you can be able to build the future with this one, right? Perfect. So now that we have these two locations, it's very important that when we'll navigate off this page, we want to be able to again access these two or these three items, and I want to use a local storage. So once someone, you can use a database, you can use cache, you can use whatever it is, but I want to use local storage. So once someone has set the pickup and drop off, I want to save this data to my local storage, so when I move out of this page, I can again be able to access this. So I'm going to do local storage dot set item, and what I want to do is I want to have my pickup location, and I want to JSON dot stringify, and I want to have my latitude, my longitude, and I also want to have my place or place name, right? It's going to be place underscore name as place dot name. So we'll have place name here. If you want to see what this place has, you can just console.log it and you'll be able to see the data. We can do that. Let's do it down here. It's a very big object, so let's just do console.log place like that. So if you go back to our code, reload this, say again Yaya Center, click it, you see we have very big object, and what I've picked is the place name, and the place name is Yaya Electronics. Perfect. Let's go now to the next stage. We set the same for drop off, so I'll go here and I'll set local storage dot set item, and we have drop off, and I'm going to have JSON dot stringify, and here we'll have our longitude, which is our latitude, which is going to be our DST lat. I'm going to have also our longitude, which is going to be our DST long, and our place name, I want it to be DST place, like that. Oh, the dot name, sorry, DST place dot name. And as well, you can log just to see what we have here. So if we go back here, reload, so we want to start maybe from Yaya Center, and we want to go to T-Room guest house, we go to our application, go to local storage, and click here. You'll be able to see that we have our pickup and our drop-off, having at least the same key entries here. Great. Now we are ready now to add our directions API, and to do that we need to set a few things. So I'm going to, still on the same, I'm just going to enter a little. Now one thing we've done is, as you can see, Google returns this longitude and latitude as functions, right? What we need to do is to create, for us to be able to calculate, to show the distance and also calculate those, or join the two places using the line that you see. We need to convert what we have on our data here to what we call Google Maps longitude, latitude longitude object. So I'm going to have finally my pickup and my drop off. So I'll introduce something here called let maps pickup to be new Google dot maps dot latitude and longitude, and here we're going to pass two things. First is the latitude and the other one is the longitude. This is for pickup, right? Then for destination we'll have let me just copy this and have maps drop off, which is going to be now our DST lat and our DST longitude. Okay, so let's make sure we don't have an error here, because again this brings a lot of issues. So I'm going to have let's not just pick anything. We have a problem here, yes, and the problem is brought about by method here. So the scope of this is already lost, so we need to fix that. And to fix that we need to pick, where is it, we need to find our pickup, the longitude and latitude from our local storage, because we had already saved it. So I'm going to say latitude and longitude from JSON.parse, and I'm going to get this from local storage .get item, and I want to pick this from pickup. Now we have these two, longitude and latitude. So if we repeat this now, just pick random names, Maseno and Eldoret, University of Eldoret, just anything. As you can see now, no errors because we have fixed that one. Next is, now we create what we call directions. We use now the directions API, and this directions API is going to give us the distance that we need, and we're also going to get an estimate of time and all that. But we need first of all to create a request that we're going to send to our directions API. So to do that, we'll create our directions object, request object. I call it directions request object. So I'll say let directions request object requests be, and we'll need our origin, which is where we're starting, and this will be maps underscore pickup. We need our destination, which will be our maps drop off. Then we need our travel mode, and now here you can put walking, driving, and many others that are provided. I'll provide this link to these modes of traveling for Google. So I'm going just to access the Google object already on our window. So we have .maps, .travel mode, and we're going to do driving. After that, we want to optimize waypoints, which is true. Provide route alternatives, so provide route alternatives. I'm not sure of the spelling, but make sure you spell them correctly, right? So provide route alternatives is going to be true, and our unit system is going to be what Google is using. So say unit system is going to be google.maps.unit system.metric. Again, I'll provide the link to that explanation, so you can read it directly on Google documentation. The next thing, we want now to initialize our direction service. So I'll say let direction service equal to new google.maps.direction service directions. This is directions service. Great. And now we want to find the route, right? So I'll do directions service, not that, direction underscore service to be equal to but direction service dot route, and this will give us will require us to give it the request. Remember, we had a request here, so we had created this direction request here, so we'll pass our direction request there. So this will tell Google where we are and where we want to go, and then this is a callback function which has response and our status, so like that. Awesome. After that, we need to check whether Google has returned status okay when we are requesting for directions. So we'll just do if Google, or if status, let me just start with status. If status is equals to Google dot maps dot direction status, so directions status dot okay. If it is okay, then we can get our routes. So I don't like using the routes directly, I just want to just go direct, but let me just remove this because we don't need that. So I'll say my route, so this is the route we're going to use. It's going to be response route, and just one item is going to be returned here, so I'll access it. Next thing, we need to find the duration. So duration, which is the approximate time that we're going to take, which is going to be, although this is not important as well on this part, but let's just proceed. So duration is going to be inside our route. We want to access legs. We'll console log this so we can see how it works, and here we want to access duration, first element, then duration dot text. For you to be able to understand what we are trying to do here, so let me just console.log my response, and because we're not using just the response, we're using the route, so let me just use response.route. Everything else is just based on the route, right? So let's go back, reload this. This time we're going to start from Kisii University. We're going to go to Maseno University, and we'll do that. We have a problem. Direction service is not defined. It's supposed to be new.google, spelling here, google.maps.direction service. Great. So apologies for that. Let's let's again go back from Kisii University main campus. We go to Maseno University Kisumu campus, and we have a problem with longitude and latitude. Then this sent an invalid request, yes, because we had an error here. Okay, so let's find that error and fix. So this is going to be invalid longitude and latitude. I think I didn't provide something. Let's find that and fix. Yeah, this is the problem. The problem is we are passing this as objects. Sorry for this. These are very uncouth error. Yeah, we're supposed to pass this as parameters to the function, not objects. Sorry. So we have let's this time go from Maseno. Maybe from Kisii is not possible. Let's try now go to Kisii University. Allah. So we are here, and the issue that I had was just it was routes, not router. Great. So once we have this, let me remove this. Okay, I wanted to show you what we had. So this is the response that we're getting. So we have the bounds and the legs. As you can see, we have the legs here, and we have the waypoints. Currently we don't have the waypoints. We need to calculate the waypoints so we can maybe include where to pass through and all that, but we don't have waypoints, so we're not going to do anything. And everything now is like this, right? So let's go back here, and that is routes. We have direction, legs, 0 duration, text low. Let's look at that. So we have legs 0, duration, text. So it's going to take 5 days from this place to this place. 5 days, 9 hours. Okay, so once we have that, the next step is now to draw these positions on our map, right? And to do that, we're going to use what we call directions renderer that is provided by Google Maps. So I'm going to do new Google .maps .directions renderer, and this one accepts an object, and first of all we'll pass the map that we want. So remember we had a map globally. Then we have our directions, and our directions is going to be the response that we get, the whole response here. So we're going to have response, then we want to say draggable is false or false, and panel, we're going to have panel. Perfect. It's going to be document.get element by ID directions. So this is going to be document.get element by ID, and just say directions. In case you're wondering what that one is, if you go here, we had our directions. Okay, it's not supposed to be here. It's not supposed to be there, but let's just have that on there. I'll tell you where we'll see it later. Then route index. We want to use index 0. We are not optimizing this map for anything. So sometimes you will find that it will show us very long distances in a place that we know you don't have to move all that route, but it will show us good place where, I mean, like the routes that we're going to use is suitable for if you're riding, if it's walking, it's going to be for walking. So let's see whether we'll be able to render the directions. So I'm going to say I'm going from Aseno University, and I'm going to Kisii University main campus, and there you go. And now you can see we have our blue line showing us we're moving from point A to point B. Point A is Maseno and point B is Kisii University. Now once we do that, let us now show a button here that will take us to the next step. So we had a button that we had declared hidden. Where is it? We had a button called payment, and we had set it as display none. So let us display this and also change the text, because now it doesn't have any text, right? So let's have that on here with a different name. So I'll say payment. Let's nest a few. jQuery methods. So we have .show, .css. We want to, so that it can obey the relative rule. So we have position, and we want it to be absolute, and then finally change the text to proceed to payment, or proceed. Just proceed is enough. Cannot tell me to proceed to payment without saying without me saying how much I'm going to pay, right? Let's again do the same. Maseno University main campus, Kisumu campus. Let's go to Kisii University main campus, and the map will zoom in to show us the location, and our button will show up to tell us we need to proceed. So up to that, we take us again a small dehydration break, then we come back and we now go to showing ride details, and after we show the ride details, we again integrate M-Pesa. So we have like 2 more sections remaining, 1 details and 2 M-Pesa integration, and that will mark the end of Nerdify, right? So as well, come you are new here, please consider subscribing, like this video, comment. The source code is on my GitHub. Go clone, do whatever you want, and we'll again redo this whole interface and everything using React.js with a professional who will help us now fix things the way they'll be. And yeah, so take a break and let's proceed. Well, now we are on our last bit of this video, and next is I want when people click this, it takes them to show ride info and show the price and allow the user to pay, make a payment, and now you can implement anything that you want on that side, and you can do the ride app as well, and everything will flow. So let us now attach an event or a click listener to this, and once it's clicked, we want it to redirect the user to another page. So this is what we want. So I'll just move out of that one. So I'll come here and say, or rather, so we have that, and when it's clicked, we want just to redirect the user, nothing else. So just say window dot location dot redirect or href. We want to move the user to trip info.php. We had our trip info page that we had created, which is here. Currently doesn't have anything, so we'll do that, but let's see whether we'll be able to click and move actually out of that. So let me first of all ensure that this is completely out of the scopes. It's independent by its own like that. Perfect. So we go back and we reload this. This time let's move back to our Maseno or University from Kisii. So Maseno University, Kisumu, click that, direction is drawn, perfect. Then click proceed. We are directed to trip info, and here we are, right? So good thing is we can still be able to access our pickup and drop off because we had them on our local storage. So as you can see, we have our drop off location and our pickup location here. Drop off, and we have Maseno University together with the directions. So in this stage now, what I'm going to do is, because I don't want to write another JavaScript, I want to restrict this part of this script to execute only when we are on that page, right? So to do that, I'll just do something simple here. I'll say if window dot location dot path name, if the path name is either the root or window dot location dot path name is index. So the first part of this video, I want it just to execute on index, so I'm going to restrict that only on that Windows object. Perfect. Next, I'll write another if again with window dot location dot path name. This will just work on our trip info. So if you're on this page, we don't want to call Google Maps API just to start running it, and we're not using maybe, so or we're not using some things, but this will be good. Next thing I want to do is I'll just copy everything that we have here and modify a few things. So I'll just copy this and paste it here. So one thing we don't have on this page is we don't have these two inputs. So the user doesn't have to select again where he's going. So we have something like this, and as well our map loads. So what we want to show on this is we want again to show the directions, and we want to show the details here as well as an input where the user can enter his phone number and click pay. This can be a very good application, especially for those people who are doing delivery for maybe parcels and stuff like that, and you want someone to deliver a parcel very fast for you from a certain place to another one. So this app can be monetized, and it can be a very useful innovation, I'd say, if it gets to the right hands. Okay, so now that we have this, our next step is to modify a few things here so that we can have it work the way I'm expecting. So I'm going to introduce another div, and instead of distance here, I'm going to introduce a div that we're going to populate with trip details from our code here, right? So trip details, everything else is okay. We'll need to again to remove this button, I don't need it. The map is okay. So here we have nerds. Let me just as well change that. So I'll remove this part completely, and I'll also change this style. So I want it to show at the bottom of the screen, so I'm going to add a different style for that. So if you go back to this and reload, we have this one. Perfect. Now we don't have any data, that's why this is fixed at the bottom. Now let's go to our JavaScript and add the functionality for pulling the information, right? and displaying it here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my code here, go to app.js. Remember, we're working with path name trip info. So here I'm going to pull, or to wait for this guy to load jQuery. Once we have that, we'll just do drop or pickup, which is going to be json.pass. So I'll get this data from local storage. So local storage get item, and we're going to get our pickup, and we'll do the same for drop off, right? So drop off like that. Now from here, everything is just as we did initially, so it's going to be very, very simple, guys. So first thing we do, we get the distance. So I'll say let distance. This is maybe now new, we didn't do this on the other one. So access the Google object in the window, then go do maps, then spherical dot compute distance between. Now you should understand that with things, with more companies focusing more on travel, things have a bit changed, huh? So don't take everything we're doing here to be like everything. Also do your own research. Make sure that you're providing something that is making a bit of sense, right? Next, which also going to draw this pickup and location. Sorry, we're going to draw just like we did on our previous one. We want to show a line showing the 2 points. So the first thing we do here is we create a directions request, if you remember very well. Next, we want to just head on this part, which is this one. Remember this, which started from here, right, all the way to here. That's what we want. So let me just toggle this off first and paste it down here. Let me remove these comments because I'm using the code that I'm using for teaching. So we have this, and we also we don't need this. So let's walk through it so you can understand. So you have direction service, also initializes the direction service as I had told you initially. We have the direction service, which is this. We're getting routes for the direction requests, and the direction request is this one where we're passing the pickup and the drop off, which is exactly what we had here. And we get the duration of travel, we get the route, then we get the time taken. We'll show this time taken, and I'll show you where we're going to display it now. And then we have directions renderer, and that is that. So if we go back here again and reload this, what we're going to see is just the direction being drawn. I'm not sure why it's not. Let me see. Let's see if we have an error. Yes, we have an error. Compute distance between. So probably I have made an error somewhere. So compute distance between, where is it? This one is Google maps.geometry. Yeah, missed something here. So this is geometry dot spherical. So if we reload this, still have a problem. Compute distance between pickup and drop off. Let me see. Google Maps geometry spherical. Reload this again. Perfect. And now we have our route shown. We are going to go through all this part to go to Maseno University, right? Now that we have all that, we need now to add our trip information, and trip information should just follow here. So what I'm going to do exactly immediately inside. Yeah, still here. So let's go down here. We'll have I'll bring in something, so I'll explain. I need to bring in this. The reason I'm copying it is just because it's HTML. So let me just walk you through this HTML. So you have a card. This card has trip details, and we'll show a summary of the trip. So we'll show pickup, place name. Remember, we have pickup, which is this one, and we had our place name, right? Then we have drop off with again place name, and then we'll show the distance, and I want to show in whole number, so I'm doing math.sail distance divided by 100, show in kilometers. Then time taken, remember we had time taken here, so we'll update this. It will take approximately what time to show it. Then we have our input here with an ID, no ID. Okay, so we have input type number, and this is where we're expecting the user to enter the phone number. Then you have a button, and this button has ID of payment, says pay Kenya shillings, and it shows the cost here. So we have not calculated the cost yet. So how do we calculate the cost? So your cost can depend on so many things, right? So you can have distance, you have factors that determine the cost that you're going to charge for transport. So this can be, you can have maybe a minimum fee, so you'll calculate it here. You calculate the distance, calculate time, look at the weather, maybe if it's rainy, and the minimum fee. So you can say maybe let cost be, so if your minimum fee maybe is 30 shillings, so you say 30, you add convenience fee maybe 5 shillings, then you add maybe adjustments due to weather, maybe 10%, that will add it later. Then type of vehicle, maybe this is a classic car, which has maybe something like 100 shillings extra. Then you say multiply by the distance, so per kilometer, so you're going to say maybe it's distance multiply by 1,000, or divide by 1,000, sorry, and then you multiply now by cost per kilometer. Maybe you're charging 7.5 shillings per kilometer, and then you add your adjustment for maybe the weather. So in this tutorial, I'm going to focus just on multiplying by 1, so I'm going to remove all these factors. So, and I'll say, because M-Pesa requires that we have full numbers only, right? So we'll again also force the user to pay full number, I mean a whole number, not full number, a whole number. So now we have our distance. We obtained it from, we have distance here. No, we don't have distance. We actually have distance. It's only that I calculated it at a very wrong place. So let me just bring it down here. Yeah, so we'll have our distance, which will help us now calculate the time. Let me format this. So we have our distance. Once we get the distance, we multiply it by, or we divide by 1,000, then multiply by our factor. So I want just one, so I can make payments today, right? And then we have everything else set. And now once we have that, remember we have not shown this to our HTML. So to show it, we'll go to our trip details. So after that, we'll do then we want to show it as HTML, and what is happening? So let's just pass HTML here. So this is supposed to be .html. Apologies for that. Great. Now we reload this, and we have an error. It's maths, not maths. It is math. Maths. Yes. So So reload that one, and as you can see, we now have our trip details. We have pickup Skis University, drop off is there, and distance is this one. So we can also add maybe to this one, we can add, instead of card body, you can add border radius, just to make it look a bit crazy. So let me see. Yeah, that looks great. We can also change the color. Let me see what color will do. That one is not cool at all, so let's just change and add this only, border radius, right? I'm going to my trip info inside my card here, just update that and have the border radius. So something is wrong. I've lost my CSS completely. Something is wrong. Yes, this one. So reload that. Still something is wrong. What is happening? Border CSS also is validating itself. Oh my. Perfect. So I have that. Okay, so I have trip details, and we can show now all these details here. And after that, now we need to enter the phone number and now make the payment. So as you have seen, we've been able to do a few things, one of them being loading this UI and adding this information. And now in the next part, which will be the last part of this series, will be now to make the payment. And this is pay. This pay, spelling of pay is interesting. Inside our this one, yes. Pay Kenya shillings 80, and even the spelling of Kenya shillings is interesting as well, right? Kenya shillings. Great. Right. Now I'm comfortable. Now in the next part, as I've said, we're going to add M-Pesa plus polling. Now you don't have to worry whether you're going to get a call back or not. We're going to use the query API to confirm whether the payment was made or not. And then once we're done with that, the code will be available on GitHub. This video is as well free of charge. And again, I look for another very interesting project and do it together, right? So to this part, I think it's good to tell you to go and take a break, sip some coffee, water, stretch, and then let's proceed. Now we're on our final bit, and on this part, or on this section, is now where we're going to integrate M-Pesa. And if you've been following my videos, I give a free API for consuming Daraja, which is very simple and it's all you need actually. So to start with, we have this file that defines or sets your consumer key and consumer secrets, your SSL status, environment. I've set my shortcode here. We have our passkey, and then you don't have to do anything past that except changing your endpoint where you'll be receiving or accepting the responses, right? So once we are through, like this code is still available on that part of the on this repo, right? Then we go to polling, and on polling what we're going to do is just take our checkout request ID, which is what we're going to again use to send to our STK query API, right? And then inside our API, which is our main class that is going to consume Daraja, as you see, we have our first of all setting our consumer key, consumer secret. We are setting our access token, which we have a method here that gets the access token and returns it. Then we have this method, should be very generic, not just Lipa and M-Pesa online, should work with every other M-Pesa method. All you need to do is just to pass the body and the endpoint that you want to call, and it will just send everything as you expect. and you'll get a response from M-Pesa. So you don't need anything else apart from maybe from changing the URLs, even when going live. And I said M-Pesa is probably one of the safest, especially C2B, because it's not combined with any B2C or B2B API. So there is no way you can maybe fear being hacked or losing your money on a C2B pay bill or till number, unless a miracle happens from somewhere, right? We all know where. But it is very hard for you to lose money, even if you expose all these details. Very hard, and it's extremely hard for you to lose the money. Two, it's also very good in that because they are not giving or you don't have the API to retrieve transactions. So again, even if someone has these details, they cannot be able to retrieve your transactions and maybe expose your data and things like that. So another very important thing to consider. So the only thing maybe you can be careful is maybe exposing them before you register your URLs, and that's it, because someone can register but still you can delete. All right, yeah, so that is one of the things. Then we have our polling here, and nothing is, I think that's all about M-Pesa, right? So all we need to do now on our request here, we need to send a request to our endpoint here. So we'll send our order details, we'll save the order details, right? But I doubt even using this one. Using this one, yes, we're using this one. So here we require the API. Remember, inside our API here we're requiring the configuration, so we don't need again to pass the configuration. Okay, so we go to our trips file here, require the API, initialize it, set or collect the order details, decode it so you can have an object, generate a unique order ID. Then you have the amount which is from the order object here. Then the string, the phone, we are assuming it was sent in form of 07, so we'll remove the first 0 and then add 254 on the number as a prefix. Then we'll create a payload for STK, which is the business shortcode. You will be wondering where we have this, but we have it on our config. So on config we have these, and everything else. We also have timestamp, we have password, right? So here we have our password, our timestamp already on our config. The transaction type, this is because we're working with a pay bill. This is going to be customer pay bill online. If it was a buy goods, it would be customer buy goods online, right? Then the amount is what we had here. Then we'll pass our party A, which is our phone number, remember, should be 254. Then we have our party B, which is our business shortcode. If it was a tail number, here we'd have store number, and here we'd have tail number. Then the phone number again, then our callback URL, and we have defined our callback inside our config file, and we have our callback here, and I've set it to this URL, and I'm calling this endpoint. And I've also have this, which is this one, which does nothing apart from maybe writing the data to that maybe a database or something like that. And we have our account reference, which is like account number. I've set it to order ID. Then transaction description, which is just going to be payment for of maybe X or anything, whatever you want. Then we have our STK process request API endpoint, which is this one, and we now go to our API class, and we call this method, passing in the URL for Safaricom and our payload, which is this object here. And we have to JSON encode it. If you don't encode this one, you'll get an error, right? And we'll be simulating some of these errors maybe in our future classes where we'll be debugging the M-Pesa API. But you'll see that we have the payload, which is JSON decoded. If I follow this link, it will take me to my API, and it will take me here. It's not a must again that we chain another method inside it. So this calls this one, passing the endpoint URL and post data. So here you can maybe validate your transactions or your maybe environment and everything and set them here. To me, that's not important for now because we're just doing demo. So the reason why I had this one like this, so I can abstract each method and have it maybe perform its own validation and things like that. But for you, this is perfectly okay, and it proceeds and finishes right here, sends the response back to our trips, and we get the response, attach it into another or create another data object with order ID, the order that we sent, and the STK response, which is request response. So the request that we sent, the response we get back, and we encode it. And now what we want to do, we decode it so don't save a funny string. Then we save this one in our database or our file and return this data back to our client that we are using to send the request. Once we send these requests, we'll get what we call a checkout request ID. If it was not an error, we'll get a checkout request ID, merchant request ID, as well as a result code and a result description, something like that. Then we'll use our polling, this one, where we'll send it as an ID on get, compose our payload again. This payload will be for querying the API, where we are required to pass the business shortcode, the password, and timestamp. Remember, we already have this inside our API, which inherits it or gets it from the config file, and checkout request ID, which now we are sending, right? And then we set again the URL. Remember the same method, we pass the URL again and we encode the payload, and then we get the response. This response will either be an error code, transaction still processing, or a result code, cancelled or successful or timeout, something like that. Okay, so now let's code the polling part. So once we have everything set, we already have even the price, we want to look or to listen to this click event on our trip info. We have our button which is supposed to be set here, so I have to toggle this, which is inside this one, which is our payment ID, so which is this one, and we'll listen to on click. You will just put an event so we don't load or reload the page when someone is doing that. So I'll do event prevent default. Perfect. Then we need to grab the phone number, so let phone be to get the phone. Remember, we didn't give it an ID, right? So we're going to use this, say inside our trip details, because it's the only input that we have. So input, we want to get the value, so this will give us the phone number. Next, we want to ensure the phone number is just 10 digits, right? So if phone is not equal to 10, phone.length, sorry, if phone.length is not equal to that, we'll just add to that one. We're going to have dot add class. You want to add a bootstrap class is invalid, so it will show an error. Then you can just return. We'll maybe give the user a more meaningful error, so because of time I'll just do alert invalid phone number. Please input XX, like that. Then we stop executing the script. If everything is okay and we have this class, so first of all we'll clear this error, so someone doesn't enter the correct phone number and still get the error or see the error. So once we have that, we want to send our trip data. So let me just say trip data. So this can be, you're sending it to save to the database as well as process payment. So I'm going to have my trip, and I'm going just to pass a few things like pickup, and I think I have that pickup by itself, right? Yeah, let's just have pickup, no problem. Then we have destination, just still destination. Is it destination or drop off? Yes, drop off. Then that's that. We'll do the rest later. Then we'll do cost, which is going to be our cost, and we'll pass in the phone now, like that. Okay, so here we can as well maybe show distance as well, no problem. So we don't have to recalculate distance every time, because every call to the Google API you're getting charged. Okay, so distance is distance. Perfect. After that, we want now to send this, so I'm going to go back here. I need to make sure this is an async, so we can use fetch to send this request. Okay, so once we have that, I want to change my payment button. I want to change the text to show a HTML, which is a bootstrap spinner, right? So I'm going to copy the spinner, which is going to go there. Perfect. Then I'm going to send const, I'll call it response is equals to await fetch, and inside our API we're going to go to trips.php. Remember, trips.php is inside our API, which is this one. We're going to pass the data. I'm going to say method is post. Pass the headers, not necessarily, but I just love it. So content type application. Great. Then we have our body. It's going to be JSON.stringify, and we'll pass in our trip data. So if we don't get an error that breaks the code, so I'll say response.status is 200. You can proceed. If we get 500, 404, anything like that, we'll alert maybe server error, and we can maybe console.log response and see what error it is. So once we have this, remember we were returning something called STK-res. Where is it? This one, right? Which is inside here. So we'll have STK-res request res, right? So we'll have const, I'll say response await response.json. Okay, so const feed, let me just call it feedback as opposed to response dot that. Now we can console.log it, and this is now the M-Pesa feedback, right, that we get when STK is successful. So from here we'll just do poll and we'll be done with the whole everything, right? Okay, so let's go back, just reload that. Hopefully no error on JavaScript. Perfect. So if we don't enter phone number, what do we see? Nothing, huh? So we have payment.onClick. So let's have it inside this. It will save us lots of time. Yeah, so reload it. Perfect. So input invalid phone number, so I put a phone number, pay, we get our success. So STK has been sent already to our phone. and this is not stopping because we don't have anything to stop it, right? So what am I going to do? So the next step is to now build the polling, right? I think I'll take a break at that point, so I don't consume a lot of time doing one thing. Then when we come back, we'll just do the polling and we'll be through with the API. So go take a sip, then come back. Okay, so now that we have our M-Pesa is successful, we can be able now to extract, check the response code, whether it is true, success or not. Then we edit from there. So I'll just do if feedback response code is 0, M-Pesa successful, else M-Pesa was not successful, right? So we'll just alert and we'll just do feedback dot error description, something like that, because let's try it. So if we have these requests, so I put my phone number, make that payment, and before it completes, we make another request. We'll probably so let's send these requests. Once we get a response and I get a push on my phone, I'll send the request again so we can see the error, right? Unfortunately, feed or feedback. Yeah, this feedback. So let's also see from the network tab, trips the error code. Let me see the error description. This error message, which is good. That one, it's okay. So we'll be able to most likely send that request or send that error back. So send it, have it, send it again. And will not be able to lock the subscriber. That's okay. So we have handled the error part. So let's now add our polling. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have our polling. Once I have that, I'm going to have an interval here. So I'll say set interval and just have this polling inside that interval. So I'll say polling is equals to set interval. I'll pass a callback, and I want to do it after every 2 seconds. Then we need this callback, and this callback I'm going to set it up here. So const callback is going to be a method like this, because we'll be doing HTTP requests. It's going to be an async. Next, because we don't want to check forever, let's set a timeout, right? So let's say stop at, so let stop at or when is equals to new date dot get time. So here, if okay, we need to say maybe 25 seconds, 80 seconds, based on the timeout that M-Pesa has. So let's just put 20 seconds. So you'll just say if new dot, okay, not new but new date dot get time is greater than stop at the clear interval, and the interval that we want to clear is polling. So we had that interval down here, right? And now we can alert payment timed out. Perfect. If we don't have, and also just return. That's the end of the script. Next, we want to now send a fetch request to polling with our ID being our checkout request ID, right? So let's do that. It's going to be very simple. So const polling or poll, let's call it poll. Is equals to wait fetch. I'm going to go inside our API polling.php, and I want to pass the ID as feedback dot checkout request ID. Let me be sure about that. So my phone number, pay, perfect. Get these. I'm looking for checkout request ID. It is still polling, as you can see, and any moment it will get timeout. Yeah, we have our timeout, which is great. So let's go to this, and here pass that. Then if polling dot status, that is poll dot status is 200, then we know we are getting a response, else you're getting an error there. So alert, say polling error. So if you have a polling error, you can now show maybe or render the UI where the user can enter the transaction number and you validate if they paid, right? Also when it's a timeout, can maybe they paid or you didn't get the response on time, so you can handle it there. So let's go to this, and here we'll just do again let now poll to be await response .json, right? Then let's console.log poll. Now this will be the polling response that we'll be getting. So let's do that test. So I'll put my phone number. I want to pay 80 shillings, so I'll say that. I want to go here. So I have an error on that, so let me see what error it is. So go to network. We have an error, access token was not obtained. So let's repeat that. We didn't handle that error, so maybe we'll do it better next time. So the request has been sent, so you go to polling and you have a problem again. Execute response body stream already. So let's look at that. So poll, which is okay, yeah, I messed up there, so this is supposed to be poll. So timeout, great. Reload it, click and do that, then pay. sure what's going on. Okay, troops is pending. Lost internet or what? Okay, so it has been successful. So you go here and you'll see we have these ones, right? So if I cancel it, I want to handle it once. So I have that. So this response is when we've cancelled. So I'm going to check on result code. So I'll go here. See if polling dot result code is not equal to 0, then alert error. Oops. Then we can show poll and the error that followed, which was response description. But instead of that, I'd rather do this one. Then he'll say else if poll dot error. Let's see what we are waiting. What are we doing? We're getting an error code. We do nothing else. We just alert. Oops, response description, and here thank you, like that. So thank you means response was processed, error code means request didn't process successfully. So let's now start. I want now to do a payment that I'll actually pay. So I'll go to here then I'll do let me do my check plaza again. Let's go to Kingdom Seekers, like that. It's the distance, it's going to be 2 shillings, so I'll pay. So I'll click pay. Now we have a problem. Response code, my network. So M-Pesa didn't send anything back, so we repeat it. Those are some of the errors that we need now to be testing, writing tests for, and debugging. So I have that request is successful. I have a payment notification. We've made the payment, and now we have thank you, payment has been accepted. And actually what we should do after we have this, we should clear timeout, and the timeout we're clearing is polling. Same case with when we have this, and as well as when we have this. Like that. So let's go back. Here we'll have several until we get tired. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to enter again my phone number, make the payment, get the request, cancel it. Polling is still pending. Now that's why we use Axios, because now once we get a response, you see all of those are pending. When we get a response, if we're using Axios, we could just pass what we call an interceptor, but you see all these are pending still. So I guess my internet is still bringing issues, but see, this now is the problem. So we have an error there, so let's fix that once. So I go to which one has resolved. So this will show the result description instead. So I can know that indeed we cancelled the request. So request cancelled by user, correct. And now that one marks the end of this class. I'll ensure I've availed a better code than this on my GitHub, so you can go clone and now run the original version, and we'll meet in our next video. I'm not sure what I'm going to teach you next, but I have so many requests from you guys, and I'm going to make sure we've addressed all of them. So thank you very much for watching. If you have not subscribed, this is your time, this is your opportunity, and I will appreciate a lot your support. And yeah, thank you and bye.